Hello, BookTube, and we're here live. Against my will, I've been dragged here to be interrogated by Mark and Elvis. At least I've got Edgar to help me to answer any questions. So we'll wait for a few more people. We got two here so far. So how's your week been so far, Mark?
Yeah, it's been okay. It's been quiet. If anyone who's watching watches my channel, then it's been very quiet. I haven't made any videos this week. I don't know. I just felt a bit tired, I suppose, busy at work. So kind of taken a break or taken a holiday, and I haven't really read anything from the stuff I should be reading. I've just picked up a couple of mood reads, and they were short and good fun. I was mentioning to you before, Sean, the Marathon Man, which was good actually. It was interesting. Obviously it's again like Boys from Brazil. It had been spoiled for me a little bit because I'd seen the film, of course, first. But it was fun, although not so much fun when I was in the dentist today, and all I could think about was Laurence Olivier torturing Dustin Hoffman. But that was good, and I'm reading To Catch a King by Jack Higgins. That's a very short book, and I'm enjoying that. Hey, Brandy. And but I'll get back on track, I think, tomorrow. Push on with my New Worlds November reads, which I'm really I was quite enjoying. It's kind of doubling up for my German book as well for the World Cup, which kicks off on Friday. No, Sunday. So that would be good, I think. And I did watch a couple of series, which is unusual for me. I don't watch much, but I watched that BBC Rogue Heroes about the SAS, the foundation of the SAS. It's a drama. It was quite good. I was surprised. And also one called The English, which was also very good. It's a kind of Western. So, yeah, enjoyed that. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, I've been reading a bit. I read for New Worlds November, the Robert Silverberg novel, sort of about archaeology in the future. I enjoy it. Well, it was a reread, and I enjoyed it. And I'm now reading. I had to look at the title. The Long Tomorrow by Lee Brackett
Mm-hmm.
in SF Masterworks, and I'm starting to get back to the videos of doing the reading the Lord Chesterfield letters and a few things like that, and the usual uh, bump I put out on my channel. So every day everybody will be bombarded. So okay, well that's pretty good. We started with two. As soon as you started talking, we went down to one, and then now since I've talked, we were up to six. That makes sense.
Well, that makes perfect sense. Shall I go then?
Yeah. So anyway, for people who's not sure, this is gonna have my um what's my Q&A for 1500, and so I've been flopping back and forth, but now I'm on this. Brandy was saying there she's going to read a translated work so I can peripherally participate in your World Cup event, Mark. I've got to figure out something for that. I was wondering when it was going to start, so I still haven't decided, because I found something on Gutenberg, and I didn't write down the guy's name, and I've forgotten what it was, and I didn't keep the reference. So yeah, so I guess we could start with the interrogation.
All right. I feel I should get the spotlight and shine it on you. So you're no stranger, of course, to interrogations, are you, Sean? So, Solaris. Yeah, I want to read that.
Yeah, I'll be reading that as well at some point.
It's Polish or Russian?
Should be Polish.
Polish. Yeah. Okay, they are in the World Cup, so that's all right. So, okay, we'll start then. Right. Let's go through. Now, these aren't written down, so it might take me a second. Right. Let's start with the question from Bill Rutenberg over at the Rutenberg Library. Over the last year, you've introduced a lot of new topics, segments, and read-alongs, etc., such as Desert Island books and science fiction quickies and August of Adventures. Which one was your favorite and why?
Oh,
It's like
well,
asking you to choose your favorite child, isn't it, Shawn?
yeah. Well, I did enjoy the August of Adventures. That was fun doing, even though I didn't actually complete it all because I went off the rails there. But I enjoyed what I did with you, Mark. And let me see the other ones I enjoyed. But I guess it would probably be Desert Island books because I'm able to like have a chat, not just during the video, but before and after, usually with whoever who's the castaway, and I get to know people a little better. And as of late, I've been lucky enough to talk people in that are not particularly booktubers that I've known a long time through other social media, and it's a lot of times it's the first time we've actually verbally and face-to-face chatted. It's 10 or 15 years of through social media and messaging, so it's really nice to actually sit down with someone and chinwag.
Well, I think I had a question that was very similar, which was, have you got a favorite video or series from your channel? But I don't know, is there a specific, just kind of following on, is there a specific video that sticks in your mind as one you made that you thought, yeah, that was really good, or maybe went down well with your viewers, or
Anything that I'm in. No, I think recently the interview I did with Dr. Jane Mainley-Piddock about M.R. James, I thought went really well, and and I don't know if it's done that well. I suppose it hasn't done as well as I'd hoped it to do, but I'm really proud of that because other couple attempts that I've had at doing interviews because of technology just died one completely died a horrible death, and the other one, as you know, Mark, that the internet was really bad. So
yeah, that was a real shame, that one, actually, because it was very interesting. So hopefully we'll have another chance to maybe redo it sometime.
Yeah.
So all right, well, I'm actually going to stick with me a little bit here because I thought of something while this question from Bill came up, and we've already mentioned Desert Island books, and it got me thinking. I don't think anyone else has asked it, but we'll see if they have, but I don't think so. If you could have like a dream guest on Desert Island books, which you couldn't hope to get at the moment, who would you really like to have on there? Sorry to put you on the spot because you haven't had that one in advance, but
do they have to be alive or dead?
Well, then otherwise we know it would be Louise Brooks that you'd want to be stuck on a desert island with. But I would say go with someone alive because we wouldn't necessarily know who that is.
Well, there's a toss-up between the two, I think. And this is something that I'm not going to say is never going to happen because it's always possible. I would love to speak to I think Clifford Simak's daughter, who's still alive, and possibly Isaac Asimov's daughter, Robin Asimov. That would be really cool if I could do something like that. So it would be a toss-up between the two of them.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
And obviously,
if they were dead people, it would be Louise Brooks and Clifford D. Simak, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Let's go through these then. So I'll do it in order because I might then get lost. So we'll go with Nathan, the rambling reviewer. He asks you, well, first of all, he says, congratulations, Shawn, on the well-deserved milestone. And he says, what work of anthropology or work about anthropology? I don't know if he's meaning archaeology, but maybe you do anthropology as well. would you recommend to someone who's never read anything in that particular field?
Yeah, I saw that question, and the only thing that I could come up with is get a good, like, for an overall view of anthropology. I had, I took a sort of a 101 or whatever it was called, an introductory class my first year in anthropology. So we covered all areas of anthropology, and it was a textbook. And I think any textbook, it's dry, but it'll cover the whole width of and depth of, in general, the topic. And it's dry, but the thing is, it's usually it's broken up into small chunks that you can just read that way, and then there's lots of references as well. And I can't, for the life of me, I've been trying to locate the one, and I'm as bad as these people go into the bookshop. Oh, there was a book I read, it was red, do you know it? And this was it was a hardcover, and it was black and white, I remember. That's all. I don't remember the editors or the compilers, but I'm sure any general anthropology would. But if you want something, and then if you mean more archaeology, just in case, I'll supplement that. There is so much, like, histories of, but I got two things here that I always refer to for Near East is God's Graves and Scholars, by C.W. Saram. It's the story of archaeology, and it's old, fairly old, but it's still a fabulous read. It came out in 1951, and then just to follow it up, another one is Testaments of Time by Leo Duell, the story of the scholar adventurers and the search for lost manuscripts.
Mm-hmm.
There he is there, looking very pensive.
Who's the author?
Leo Duell, Deuel.
Mm-hmm. I'm writing that down. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and it was funny because I just recently wanted to get copies again. In the last 6 months. I think it was after Mark Richardson and you had that.
I was going to say it's a different version you've got of God's Graves and Scholars there. So I noticed.
Yeah, I figured this is the American version I had to get, and I got it here from somebody in the UK, a bookseller. And then this one, I wanted the American version, but this is the British version, and I got it from an American seller. Figure that one out.
Go figure. Well, I suppose this is also Nathan. He's got 3 questions. So his second question is, have you done much traveling, and where have you been?
Well, it depends on how much. I've traveled a little bit, but not extensively. I've been to the Middle East. I've been to Jordan, sort of up, down, and across Jordan into Egypt. I've been to Europe a little bit. Really just Latvia. Into the United States, traveling for books, and doing a bit of archaeology in Ontario and Quebec, and the UK here a little bit. So I don't know if that's very extensive. It doesn't seem like much to me, but yeah.
Well, it's more than most, probably, though. That's the thing. Did you ever make your way down Mexico way?
No, I actually had a chance to go on an excavation in Nicaragua. I could have
a Mexicavation. Oh no, sorry, doesn't work. You went to Nicaragua, so that ruined my joke.
No, I'm just saying that would have been the closest thing. Yeah. Is that? But then also I had a chance to do something else in on the Franklin expedition that they were digging up, or at least I could have got on there, but I didn't. So missed opportunities.
Well, you just chose to do something else, so who knows? You could have been killed there, so yeah, maybe it was a good choice. And then his third question is, if you had been born in, for example, 1999, he's picked it at random, and you were going to college now, would you have chosen a different degree?
Yeah, most likely film studies with maybe a minor in
In
book
Louise
history.
Brooks.
Possibly.
I
But
didn't
it
hear
was
the minor. Sorry, I talked over you. What was it? A minor in?
book studies, book
Okay.
history,
Mm-hmm. Cool. Cool.
if there was such a thing.
Well, I do think sometimes it's a shame that we go to university so early, so young, because I think there's so much out there that you don't know it's there unless you've lived a little bit, and then perhaps you'd actually want to give it a go. You might find your feet. So, yeah, I
Well,
don't. I would do the same, but
this is based on the fact knowing that I never did anything in archaeology beyond a certain point, that I would have probably had a better chance in these other two subjects to do something in the field that I'd go to university for.
right then. Next, I'm moving on. Chad M has a question for you. Love all your videos. So Chad is obviously a person with very good taste. You're obviously a voracious reader and collector of books. How often do you use your local library? Oh, sorry. How often do you use your local library?
Well, when I was out and about, long before the pandemic, I would pop in to use the toilet occasionally. But the last time I actually went in for a book or anything like that we're getting on to almost 10 years here now. Because when I came to this town, to Bedford, I went to the library and I didn't have any money. I was just starting a job, so I didn't want to buy any books, period. So I sort of told myself I wasn't going to buy anything. So I went to the library to find something to read. And I went through searching for about 150 to almost 200 books they didn't have on the shelf that I wanted to read. And we're talking simple things as Charles Dickens, just the classics,
They
everything.
didn't
Just
have Charles Dickens. Oh my
no,
God.
they had nothing like that on the shelf, but they had it in either interlibrary loan or in what they called their reserve collection, which was at a different site, and it cost money to get it. So the amount of money that it costs to get those, I realized that I can just buy the books myself. So I started buying books again. But I did eventually start going because I was working an evening shift. And I'd have to come into, I was living just outside, well, on the outskirts of town. So I'd come in on the bus and I'd spend an hour reading their magazines, archaeology magazines, and a few other things that they had there because you couldn't take them out, and a book or two in the reference section. But then they decided they needed more space for computers. So they had to get rid of a lot of the magazines. So guess which ones they got rid of?
Archaeology.
Yeah, all the ones that I was reading and all the reference stuff that I was interested in reading, they moved it into this other section that you had to pay to get. So basically, I only went after that. Oh, I did go maybe to use the computer occasionally when I didn't have the internet, but it was like for what takes you get an hour's use free. And it was so slow that if you actually had, like the way I have on my phone now, I could do what takes an hour there, 10 minutes on my phone. So yeah, I have nothing against libraries. It's just if it's a half decent library.
Hey, Gareth.
Right.
Yeah, okay, no, nice question there, Chad. So we go onto the Spaminator, who is in the chat if he's still here, and he has, true to his form and his name, spammed your comments with quite a few questions. So we'll go through. Oh yeah, he's still there. We'll go through the Spaminator's questions there. So the first one that comes up in this order, anyway, is Sean. Being the world's greatest semi-supervillain isn't easy. It's downright tiring. Sometimes I just need to relax and decompress with a good book, smooth jazz, and an ice-cold glass of spam drippings. How do you like to relax? Does it always involve a book? And do you have any favorite comfort foods or beverages?
The real answer would get me banned, but we'll just let everybody think about that for the moment. But no, I guess at the moment, relaxing is reading at the moment for me. I used to like going out. There's a place like another small village, and there used to be a well, it's still there, but it's not used as that, a water mill. And I like the area around there, so I would go there at times just to walk around and stuff like that, or take a book and read or write. And I used to do that, but now, yeah, it's just basically what you see where I am here in reading, or snoozing where I am. What was it? It was a beverage, was it?
Yeah. How do you like to relax? Does it always involve a book? So at the moment, either reading or snoozing. Do you have any favorite comfort foods or beverages?
Comfort food. I don't know. Well, at the moment, because I don't have much taste still because of the COVID, that garlic is sort of my go-to now, because I can taste garlic, so I'm just piling garlic on it
It must smell lovely there. Thank God we haven't got the smell-o-vision, right?
Well, there's been complaints in the house, so there's somebody I don't think likes garlic, so every time
obviously a vampire,
and every time they're around, I put more on, and it's like, well, until they stop wearing perfume that could actually kill me, stop me breathing, I'm not gonna, tough, live with it. It's not gonna kill you. But yeah, so for drink, it used to be my go-to. Well, that's the one other thing I can taste now is Glenfiddich. And if anybody's thinking of get me anything else, I won't refuse it. But I will say it has to be at least 15-year-old, Glenfiddich. 18 better, 25 the best. But I can taste Glenfiddich. It's a few things that I can taste pre-COVID. But I used to, before I got COVID and had my heart attack, Pepsi was my drink. But I haven't had any since January 25th, 2021. And now I suppose it's tea.
Well, okay, right. So I just want to say, I do remember you telling me that one of your kind of, I don't know if it was a relaxation thing, but you used to enjoy going to Oxford, wasn't it? And visiting the pub for Sunday afternoon, Sunday roast.
Yeah, that was when I first moved here, my first job, which I had in Bedford, but I lived in Milton Keynes. And so I'd get a pass for the week, but the pass allowed me to go to Cambridge or to Oxford. So every Sunday, I'd go most of the time to Oxford because it was no extra charge, or Cambridge. Yeah. So that's what I used to do. Yeah.
Well, I think we'll let Gareth jump the queue because we could lose his question at this rate. So he's written there that he has a question. And who are your top 3 film directors?
Oh, I thought it said top 3 doctors. I thought he was talking about Doctor Who for some reason. I didn't even. I clicked on it and glanced at it while I was talking. See, that's the problem with COVID. You can't do 2 things at once. You can barely do one thing. Top 3 directors. Ooh, that's well, F.W. Murnau for sure. Oh, it's hard for the air, but I'd probably say Fritz Lang. And the third one's really, really going to be tough.
Steven Spielberg.
Oh God, no. Let's try to think of somebody that sort of spans.
John Huston.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'll accept that.
I was thinking he spans all the way up to The Man Who Would Be King, for example, which is like 70s. So maybe even later.
The other one could be Billy Wilder.
Wilder, yeah.
But yeah, that definitely, without any equivocation, is F.W. Murnau is on the list. Second one is a little bit. The third is a floater, I would say.
Okay, wonderful.
Let's
Hi,
just get
Spectre.
some of the comments here just quickly. Well, Spectre, hi. Thank you. And if everybody wants to know, Spectre has a BookTube channel now, so go and subscribe.
Yeah, I subscribed. Spectre, I don't know if you can see it, but I did.
We'll get pizza. I'm an Old Crow bourbon guy myself. Okay. I like single malts. I'm a whiskey snob. Do you collect any? Oh, okay. Well, then I guess we can go to Spectre's question.
Yeah,
Here.
in case we lose it. So, do you collect anything other than books and movies, Sean?
I have at various times. Postcards. I always like receiving postcards, and nobody ever sends them to me from places. But I like historically or preferably archaeologically related postcards. And for old ones, I what's this place? I collect old postcards, like either historical buildings or cathedrals and churches. I really like, but also
Naughty postcards?
well, if you can get if I can get them, yeah, but I don't. But I've been collecting from a place. Yeah, is it in Devon? I can't even remember now. It's Colvenny. It sounds like you want to say it with a Welsh accent. Colvenny.
Yeah.
No, I can't even do it now. But a little place, a little fishing village. Kingsley, what's the guy who wrote the Water Babies? He wrote that there, and other people.
Charles Kingsley, is it?
Yeah. So yeah, I collect postcards. I have collected stamps to a certain point in the past. What else?
Ex-girlfriends.
Wow, that's everybody collects them, but that's a very small collection. So, but we won't go there.
Human remains, judging by what's on the back behind you there.
We don't mention that either.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Edgar's a bit shy about that. Just trying to think what else. I do like sort of movie pictures and memorabilia. Oh, well, I do. Okay, I do. I collect sort of signed pictures and Babylon 5 related stuff and signed
So
pictures.
when you say signed pictures, you mean like autographed pictures of Babylon 5 or autographed pictures in general?
Babylon 5, the characters and the actors that have signed them, or other related material for Babylon 5. I used to collect a lot. Like a lot of that stuff is in Canada still, which I probably
don't have like any autographs from the film world then. So you haven't got like a Louise Brooks. Of course, not made out to you, but I don't know if you'd ever picked up a picture that she'd signed or whatever.
I would love to, but it's just that those things are hard to identify, and you would need to go to somebody who's reputable, and then you pay a lot of money. So, and I never did that. So that's about it. I also like things that are silent film related, like busts and statues that have come out, things like that. But I don't collect them per se. But I like those. So yeah, it's I guess postcards and signed pictures from Babylon 5, I guess, is the biggest thing at the moment.
And have you got any? I mean, have you got a lot of the cast and crew of Babylon 5 signed stuff, or?
I've got probably about 10, I guess. Not everybody. There's many of them that have been going beyond the rim, as it's called in Babylon 5 parlance. They've died. So, and I've missed getting them, and now obviously their prices have gone up for them. You're welcome, Spectre. So I think that
They're little plastic discs, if I remember rightly. I was a bit too old for them, I think, but
is that like the milk bottle things. They're like milk bottle.
they might,
Um,
yeah, but they were plastic and they were made specifically for this kind of collecting. And they used to have, like, I don't know, monsters or something on it or whatever. I can't remember, but yeah, I
but
was.
they always reminded me of the milk bottle tops that, like, I don't know if you got them here, but not the ones that could, but they were a disc. They're exactly about the same size too, I think, and that's maybe what they based them on.
Could be. All right, let's go back to the Spaminator. So he has quite a few questions for you. So his second one is, what is a book? Oh, sorry. No, there's more to it. Let's see if you're going to answer what it was. What is a book that everyone seems to love, but you don't like at all?
Well, I'm struggling to get through it at the moment, but as a second read is Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. But I suppose I won't say that until I've finally finished it. But so far, I'm not liking it.
So that deserves to remain in the detestable sphere, at least for now. At least that book. Perhaps she would have done better with you if she'd done Sense and Sensibility in space.
Or Sense and Sensibility and vampires, maybe. Because Pride and Prejudice and Zombies is
yeah.
well, I haven't read the book, but the film was just absolutely fabulous. So,
oh, is it good? Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, the film.
It's absolutely awful, but it's absolutely fabulous at the same time.
I might watch it over this holiday weekend because it's on. It's on over here. It's on HBO. Other streaming services are available. Okay, so the Spaminator has more questions, but I'm reading in the order that I'm seeing it. So we'll move on to science fiction reads. Considering your background in archaeology, what are some cultures or locations you would have visited and worked at if you could have had your pick?
Well, would love to have gone up into sort of southern Russia, like northern Asia area, into the steppes and excavated there because there's still lots to be done. Anywhere in Africa would have been really cool, and specifically, which I think I probably could have figured out a way to do it because I actually knew somebody that was connected to it, was the excavations at Rorke's Drift. So that would have been absolutely cool. That would have made my decades or several decades if I could have done, just to actually go there, because there's a few places in the world I want to go, and I want to go to Isandlwana, Elundi, all the battlefields, and there is every January. I'm blanking on his name now. Ian Knight does a whole tour through there, and
he still does it.
Well, I think it's still being done. Yeah, you can actually subscribe to his dispatch emails. He also sells books, used books, and actually, if you want to buy an assegai or a shield,
We should probably explain. I don't know if everybody watching knows exactly what you're talking about when you're talking about Rorke's Drift and Isandlwana and Ulundi.
Well, the Zulu Wars in South Africa, 1879, nine, yeah, and
Michael Caine against thousands of Zulus.
Yeah. Just a real cock up of the British Empire, big time, and imperialism, but not fully their fault. It's, there was literally several centuries of build up to that by European powers. So,
well, it's just lucky that the British Army doesn't like more than one disaster in a day. So,
yeah. Do we want to move on to Spectre here? I guess that's another question, I suppose.
Yeah. Did you go to science fiction convention? Sorry, science fiction convention, sci-fi conventions, SF conventions.
I've been to a few. I've been to a few here in the UK, but the first one I went to was a Star Trek convention in Toronto because they had a bunch of Babylon 5 actors there. And it was an interesting thing that it was the first year, apparently, that the actors started charging for their signatures. So that got a lot of people grumbling and angry. But see, what it was new to me, and it was only like $10, and I had a budget, and I actually had some money then, so I was going to do it, and I got a whole bunch of photographs. And the actor Jeff Conaway was one of them that was there. He's now passed away, but he had like a lot of addiction problems. And he showed up on basically the second season of Babylon 5 as Zach, security guard, sort of basically. But he was there, and he was sort of popping pills and drinking beer and all this, and he had these handlers there doing all these sort of massage things and lighting candles and all this stuff. And he was wearing these Hawaiian shirts. And some people, like if anybody's been to these things, you know that you stand in line or the queue for a long time to get somewhere. So you hear and see a lot. So people were asking about these Hawaiian shirts, and he was bragging about them, how they're 50,000. It's hyperbole, but not, extremely expensive, like into the even $5,000 or $10,000 for these shirts. So I got my signature, and I got back in line to somebody else that was next to him. So I couldn't just go to the next person. I had to get back in line. And by the time I got back to the next person, he was like still signing, and a young woman was forcing him to say, well, why are you charging now? She was quite irate and saying, where does the money go in this? And he didn't know what to say, and his handler sort of whispered something in his ear and said, it goes to charity. And then I finished, and I just looked over my shoulder and said, or Hawaiian shirts. He freaked. He was leaping over the table at me. And he actually took a swing at me the next day, but that's a different thing. That was outside of the thing. But
Did he remember you from the day before then?
Yes, he did. I think he probably remembered me to the day he sadly died.
Do you still have his signed picture?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do. Well, it didn't change. That's what I mean. It didn't change. Like I thought, but there's reasons why he was like that. Like he had addiction problems, and that's would have all been. But I still like the character. And if people don't know him, if they remember Taxi, he played the actor on Taxi. But he got a start in Grease with John Travolta and what's her name?
Olivia Newton-John.
Yes, thank you. But anyway, so yeah, I've been to a few, and then the other good story that I think is that when I was here, there's a couple good stories. The conventions here in the UK, and Richard Keel was at one, and most people know him as Jaws from Moonraker. A lot of stuff, but he was also in the original Twilight Zone in the 50s, and he played an alien in an episode called To Serve Man. And for some reason, it wasn't that well of a convention because they moved it outside of Milton Keynes into a football stadium, so it was hard to get to begin with. So the attendance wasn't the greatest that year. But anyway, so I was waiting. I had some time, and I wanted to get his signature, but on the alien from Twilight Zone. So I was hoping he had a picture, and he did. And he was saying I was the first person all day to ask for that, and I had I had to catch a bus. If I didn't catch this bus in about 2 hours, I couldn't get back home basically. So I almost missed it. And I wish I actually did miss it because I couldn't pull myself away. He just wanted to chat and talk about Rod Serling, TV during that period. And within a month or two after that, he had died. So
Yeah.
it would have been really, really nice to have done that. But also at the same time, Tom Baker was there. And the only other thing was that because he just kept disappearing and people were lining up. And I just sort of figured I'm not going to wait all day just to, and do this. So I'm standing there and he's running around. He bumps into me. He runs right into me. And because I think he was having a few drinks or something. But anyway, he started cursing and stuff like that because he was running around. And I think they were trying to find him. Like the handlers were trying to chase him or something. Anyway, it was funny. Okay, that's my
great. That's great. I think if I met Richard Keel, I would have to ask for a picture from Happy Gilmore probably, but which I guess you don't know what that is. So.
Yeah, I don't know if he had any pictures like that. Like he had several but the biggest one obviously was for Jaws. Yeah.
Cool. I have a question to ask you, which isn't on the original plan, but sometimes these things pop up. And I know a lot of people dress up for these science fiction conventions. And if you had to dress up as someone from any TV series or book series with science fiction, who would it be? What character would it be?
I don't know. I didn't. I never did.
No, but you haven't got a choice. You have to. In this imaginary world, you have to. So who would you choose? I mean, would you go something from City by Clifford Simak or something from Babylon 5 or a robot from Asimov?
I don't know. I suppose maybe Jakar from Babylon 5 is about the only one because that would be the toughest one to do because his character was so cool, and there was a great story arc for him and he changed throughout the series. So yeah, I guess I do off the top of my head.
Before we move on, I just see a bit further down there. Brandy's gone, so bye to her. Spectre says, "Do you have a preference, slow or fast-moving zombies?" Which is a good one. But then, just because it sticks with the,
there's a lot of things here. Let me get the.
Well, I want to go to the one where did you have him sign the Hawaiian shirt because that obviously just follows on from the story you just told. I'm guessing.
Oh, did you? No. Well, there were no Hawaiian shirts.
Well, yeah, it's 5,000 a pop, eh?
Yeah, but the thing is, if he would have connected with the next day with but I don't think he ever would have because he was so strung out. But if he would have connected, I probably would have went away with a trophy with his Hawaiian shirt. Let's put it that way. Let's go back here to get Pogs. Let's get caught up here just for a quick. I love the way you got the Q&A with Mark doing the questions. Zombies. Hey, do you have a preference, slow or fast zombies? Not particularly. It's not a question. It's not something I ever thought about, to be honest.
I think I'd like them slower than me.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Brandy's long gone now. So, Spectre, Zach. Zachary was a great. Yeah, he was. That's the thing. He was a great character on the show, but he just happened to be a bit of a prick at times, like people do, and it didn't matter to me. And I shouldn't have really said that to him. Yeah, to serve man is great. Sounds awesome hearing that. He's great. Yeah, and I just, I just sort of, after 2 hours, I was thinking, how am I got to get home, and it's like, and it didn't really, it dawned on me who I was talking to, and it was great, but I didn't know what to do because I didn't have enough money for a hotel to stay for the night. I would have had to stay, outside, like, and I've got tired of doing that kind of stuff. But anyway.
Who knows? You might have sat in the bar drinking with him all night.
It could very well have, yeah. But knowing later that he died just so shortly after, that really made it like, another missed opportunity, Um, okay, yeah, that would have been cool. A Vorlon, at least that way, nobody would know my size. At least I could, everybody would think that I'm a skinny little person inside.
Okay, actually, we were a bit quick off the mark there because Science Fiction Reads actually had two parts to his question. So we did the bit where he said some cultures or locations you would have visited or worked if you had your pick. The second part was any history or archaeology documentaries that you would recommend. He's recently been enjoying the stuff done by The Fall Of. So I guess it's the Fall Of series. So probably the Fall of Rome, the Fall of whatever. Are there any particular archaeology or history documentaries you watch and would recommend?
They're all old ones, I'm afraid.
Like Civilization by what's his name? Can't remember his name.
Yeah, I can't think of his name either. But the art history one, sort of, yeah. But it's history as well. What the hell is it? Yeah. Anyway, what is his name?
He's got the name. It's not Alan Clark, is it? He's got the same name as somebody else.
Clark. Yeah. It's it is Clark. Kenneth Clark.
Kenneth Clark, that's it, because it was Kenneth Clark, the Chancellor, not him.
Yes, yeah. Kenneth Clark. For that, and Michael Wood's, anything by Michael Wood, historical, any series that he has ever done. But the Troy, the Fall of Troy, is really great. Anything by John Romer for Egyptian or Byzantine that he did, or the New Testament that he did.
Do you watch Time Team at all?
Yeah. I guess that's fun to watch. It's just I sort of had a bit of a contention with that because, like actual people, like I did do salvage archaeology, so there are times that literally you got a bulldozer behind you, revving, waiting for you and want you to move out of the way so they can bulldoze. So you're in a rush to do things. So you use a long-handled trowel a lot of times, a shovel rather than a trowel, to get the information quickly. Now, the whole setup for Time Team is we only have 2 days to do this. It's all contrived. It's all contrived, and they don't really need to do that. And yes, they can't make a series or an episode like people pointed out. And I know that, doing a research thing, but take 2 days and excavate it properly in those 2 days and only get done what you get done.
Yeah, it's true, but it is good fun, especially if you're not an archaeologist, like, you knows better. And the nice thing is all the classic Time Teams are available for free on YouTube.
Oh, are they?
Legally as well, yeah. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's got Barry Cunliffe on it at times. And somebody else, I don't really like her herself, but she's really good presenter, is Alice Roberts.
Alice Roberts, yeah.
Her stuff is good. Oh, anything by Bethany Hughes.
Bethany Hughes, good choice.
I met her. There's a whole story about that, but we'll gloss over that for the moment. But she's really nice.
Try to punch you as well, or?
No. But no, she's really good for documentaries.
Mary Beard?
Sorry?
Mary Beard?
I've actually never seen a documentary by her.
I think she's great.
Oh, no, I have seen a documentary of her. That's right, yeah. What else?
What about The World at War? That's a great documentary.
Oh, yes. Yeah, for Second World War. Yeah, that is fabulous. It's got music by what's his name? He does silent film music. I've met him several times too, the composer, which is really cool at silent film things. And it's got James Mason as narrating it too. The music Laurence Olivier, yes. Okay, yeah. James Mason did the Hollywood series that the silent film series. And that's another series to watch, is Hollywood, if you're interested. 12 episodes on silent film, American silent film, and then you got 6 episodes on European silent film, narrated by Kenneth Branagh, but Carl Davis did the music again. Carl Davis, yes.
Because there's a World War I version as well, and I want to say it's maybe Sir Ralph Richardson is narrating that one, but I might be wrong.
There's several. I think, yeah, the older one I think is Ralph Richardson. Yes,
I mean the one that is like the precursor to the World at War. But the World at War is so great. I mean, it is. Yeah. I think it was just the right time, wasn't it? Because the people involved were still alive, or a lot of them were still alive and old enough where they just felt. You know, the fact you could have Albert Speer sitting there talking, and then you see him actually speaking in English as well. He's not being translated. So that's kind of cool, regardless what you think of him. It's interesting to like hear him in his own words, as it were.
Yeah. Well, that's the same as the Hollywood, the silent film one. They interviewed the last people, like it was the last time to get the people that, you know, were involved in the silent film era on camera. You know, and that's fabulous.
Ironically speaking about their silent careers.
Yes.
So, cool. All right. Sorry, I keep digressing. Now, poor Brandy's left, but she still has a request more than
yeah, we should have done that one, but I didn't know. Yeah, okay.
Well, she said she's going to watch it later, and now it's going to give her the impetus to do so. And she would like to hear a story from your archaeological days, Shawn. Yeah,
well, everybody has heard over so many times of me being incarcerated in Egypt, so I'll skip over that one. Let's go when I was in Jordan, and this was just after the first Gulf War. Is that right? Yeah, it was 90. Yeah,
1991. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was the first Gulf War, and the Jordanians liked sort of Americans to a certain extent, but they didn't like American foreign policy. So they distinguished between not liking America and liking Americans. But I took a weekend with a couple other people. We stayed at the American Center of Oriental Research, ACOR, and we rented one of their little Toyota trucks that had, you know, a back seat to it, and we drove around sort of the north, the Decapolis cities, and like I slept on the roof of an Ottoman farmhouse. You know, I slept in a tomb or two in different places like Jerat.
As you do.
Yeah. But anyway, when you get near the border, there's a lot of army checkpoints that you've got to go through. And I was usually sitting in the back seat, but I had a keffiyeh on, and I hadn't shaved, and I didn't have a beard like this, but I had a scruffy little beard. And they started pointing out and go, Yosef Arafat. You know, they thought I looked like him. So we figured this out. So I got ensconced in the shotgun position in the passenger seat. And so every time we went to a checkpoint, it was like they pointed, laughed, and then let us through very quickly without all the rigmarole that we had previously. So that worked out. So I thought that was kind of funny.
No, that is pretty good. Yes, ShawnDStandfast.
Well, I guess John David wants to know the Bethany Hughes story. Well, it's not really much a story, but it's just I went to see her at the Oxford Literary Festival. I forget which new book she had at the time she was flogging, but I had all her other books, and I can't even remember what her first my COVID won't allow me to do this, but her very first book. And so most people just had, you know, the current book they bought at Blackwell's and take it up for her to sign it. But I had all her other books and her first book, and she just just was so pleased that somebody brought her first baby basically to her. And so, and it's weird that I get this sometimes. Either I get, you know, so-called celebrities attacking me or wanting to talk to me forever. And that's all she wanted to talk about was the first book and how it came about and all this kind of stuff. Because and so everybody else in life, like they were ready to string me up, because 45 minutes later we're still talking, and she is gorgeous as well, so that helps.
It's funny. I don't know if I told you the story about my mother and grandmother having an argument about.
Oh yeah.
And it was a similar thing. They ended up having to call the woman's co-star because she was in the phone book in those days. I don't know why. So they called up that Beryl Reid. Yeah. So my grandmother calls up Beryl Reid and asks her, was it this woman or that woman in the film with you? And it seemed, my mum said that my grandmother was maybe a bit harsh because she was like getting away from her, because it seemed like Beryl Reid actually wanted to chat, So it was like, a bit weird. So yeah, can you imagine them these days being in the phone book? You just, now you have Google, just Google it. In those days, you had to call up somebody connected to the film to find out the answer to your question.
Well, it's like the story that J. Michael Straczynski talks about with Harlan Ellison, like when he's starting out writing, J. Michael Straczynski, the creator of Babylon 5. And Harlan Ellison's number was in the phone book, so he takes it first time. I think this is the story, if I get it correct, that he dials it and Harlan Ellison answers, and he and J. Michael Straczynski panics and hangs up. So he later calls and he goes, and then he starts talking, and Harlan Ellison's Harlan Ellison. Yeah, what do you want? And he says, well, I'm trying to write, something. Yeah, get it out. It says, well, I'm trying to write. I'm sending it into places, and it keeps getting rejected. I just wanted some advice. Well, you know what's wrong? Well, no, what's wrong? You're writing shit. That's what's wrong. You're writing shit. And that was it. And they became lifelong friends. And J. Michael Straczynski is the executor of Harlan Ellison's estate.
Oh, there you go. They seemed more approachable in those days, though, despite this kind of attitude. But even before that, because you're always seeing people writing letters to famous authors and getting replies, from these people.
Yeah, in the early 90s, I was going back to Clifford Simak, but I get the bibliography by Muriel R. Becker that was done in 10 years before. So I just sort of go, oh, I wonder if she's still around. So I called up the operator thing. I get her phone number. I called her up and started talking to her, as you do. And then she starts saying, oh, you should talk to Damon Knight. Going back the connection with the To Serve Man, the Twilight Zone. And he was a writer, editor, critic, and all this stuff. So she gives me his telephone number. So I call him up and talk to him. He was a little hesitant. And he said, well, how'd you get my telephone number? Because I think it was unlisted, right?
Yeah.
So I tell him and then all of a sudden it was fine. So he couldn't help me for the thing that Muriel R. Becker thought he could. But we chatted back and forth. He would call me and I'd call him occasionally for a couple of years. It's just happened. And then I leapfrogged and talked to other people, and another researcher that did probably the most work into Clifford Simak at the time while he was alive. He had died recently, so I spoke to his widow, and she made copies of all his interviews that they did on cassette tape. And that was one of the things I brought to the UK with me when I came in my laptop case. Somebody stole my laptop. So I didn't care about the laptop. It was those interviews, and I could never get them again, have copies, I don't think, because just after that, there was some oral sort of repository that was started, and they were asking for stuff, and you only have limited access to it now. Anyway, sorry, I keep diverging here.
No, it's fun because I like these things. I always like these stories when it's like people don't know if somebody's dead or alive, you know, because they've been out of the news for a while. And I remember two examples. One I read about, one I actually heard happening on the radio. The first one I read about, which I really liked, was I think it was sometime in the late 70s or very early 80s, was they were talking about like doing some kind of monument or memorial to the generals of the Second World War, British generals of the Second World War, and nobody could find the date for Claude Auchinleck's death. You know, but they were like, he's got to be dead by now, surely. Anyway, they found like a number for him, like the last number he had or something. And they telephoned it, and a man answered the phone and went, Auchinleck here, you know, so it's like he wasn't dead. And then the best one was I was with my dad and we were listening live on the radio. I think it was Talk Sport or something like this, and they started talking about Dad's army, and they were like, oh, you know, Clive Dunn as Corporal Jones, he was great, he was this, he was that. Oh dear, you know, he was all past tense. And a bit later on, you know, they said, well, we got a special caller here. It's Clive Dunn. I'm not dead. You know, so.
I know that story. Yeah.
Well, we actually heard it. That's what I mean. It was actually when it was on Talk Sport, I think, or Talk Radio, one of the two. Yeah, because it was just so funny because we were like, but he's not. I'm sure he's not dead. You know, so.
Well, I've got some. Well, I'm on the receiving end of something like this with the shorter beard and everything. Apparently, people think I look like a few people, like an author and an actor. An author that's still alive, but an actor that has since died, Richard Griffiths.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And he lived near or at Stratford-upon-Avon. And I spent a Christmas there, like I spent a couple of weeks there. So everybody was thinking I was him. Like, you know, I'd go in somewhere and then, you know, I'd be in a pub or something like that. And people were going, well, that's Richard Griffiths. That's so-and-so, you know, Pie in the Sky or from Harry Potter and all this. And they go, oh, no, he's dead. And then somebody go, well, he's looking pretty good for being dead. And, like, these are the kind of conversations people are having around me, you know, thinking that I was the ghost of Richard Griffiths, you know.
Who was the author?
I don't know. He wrote some kind of minor fantasy series.
I know. Yeah. As soon as you said, if you stuck a hat on, I kind of get it. Actually, I do get it. Yeah.
A flat cap, you know.
Flat cap thing. Yeah. Yeah. I get it. Oh, Spaminator's got an interesting comment.
My uncle wrote a letter to Bela Lugosi as a child. He asked Bela if he scared his grandchildren. Bela wrote him back and said that I was hard scare.
It was hard.
It was hard to scare them since they'd seen him in his underwear. That's fabulous. Do you have that letter still? That's fabulous. That is
brilliant. That is brilliant. Okay, moving on then. So we have the Spaminator again. Sean, are you a Shakespeare fan? If you were to introduce... Oh, geez, sorry. If you were to introduce someone to Shakespeare, what would you... Oh, sorry. Elvis has this thing where if I sneeze, he has to come to make sure I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay. Do a Steve Donahue. Well, actually, I'm not as bad because I'm not going. Are you a Shakespeare fan? If you were to introduce someone to Shakespeare, what would you have them read first?
Well, I do like Shakespeare, and I must say that I have not read every play. I should have, but I, for some reason, have never. But my favorite play is Macbeth. And I say you can't go wrong with Macbeth. It's got sex, violence, and murder.
And magic.
Yeah, as well. Yeah. You got three witches in it, you know.
Wonderful. All right. So, Jim Chaplin, congratulations. I remember a good while ago on Twitter, I saw you in conversation with Bromley House Library in Nottingham. An excellent library I know well. Talking about your links to the Standfast room, I wondered if you could tell us any more about this, a remarkable bookish ancestor, I presume, quite the claim to fame. And do you have any other ancestral links to the area?
I don't know much, but yeah, he was a church. I don't know what you call it. Well, he was a Wesleyan minister. That's what it is. And he donated his library to the city, and eventually, I think it was the nucleus for the Bromley Library, or I may be wrong, or another library, which then was taken over by Bromley, something like that. And they still have a Standfast room. And so they will still have books that probably has his name or book plate in or whatever. But also the room has a meridian line in it, which is kind of cool. I've never been there, but I want to go there and say, I want my ancestors' books back. But, I tweeted this and, saying this, and they never replied or anything like this, which I thought was kind of bad, because it's like, at the very least, I should have got a lifetime free membership, even if I'm never going to get there, but yeah, I think there are links there, because my ancestry goes back on the one side, the Standfast, to Wesleyan ministers and around that area, and then, but my grandfather was born in a county that no longer exists, Middlesex. Yeah,
I was born in Middlesex,
and I think I looked up on the address one time on Google Maps of where he was born, because I did find that out. But yeah, so it was that's about it. And I think prior to that, there's a lot of Wesleyan ministers. And it goes back, I think the farthest that I've been able to see is people in different parts of the country that I think are ancestors. They made wagons.
Okay.
And there is a George Standfast who was an illustrator or an engraver and there's the name comes up occasionally. I've never seen a book with his engravings in. I'd love to have one. And also, too, I've got a book here about booksellers and book publishers. It's just a listing in London. And there was a Standfast bookseller in St. Paul's Square, where that was a huge book-selling area. And so I don't know if there's any ancestry, but I'm co-opting it because there probably is. Yeah. And there's even in Bristol, there were Standfasts that were mayors of Bristol, and there's a street or two of Bristol. And I figured if I ever move to Bristol, I'm moving to that street.
Yeah, Mr. Standfast Street. And do you know where in Middlesex he was born, or you don't know?
I do. I don't off the top of my head. I got a reference, or I'd have to look it up. But yeah,
I'm just curious. Being a Middlesex boy myself, so wonderful. Yeah. Was there anything else I wanted to say about that? No, I can't remember. Jim's come on, so he's got a follow-up. Let's go.
I've spent lots of time in the Standfast room. There is indeed a meridian line. If you ever do make it up here, Sean, there's a couple of pints of Nottingham Finest, and yeah, dark ale. Yeah, I'm up for that.
What more motivation do you need, Sean?
Yeah,
off you go.
That would be cool.
Set off now, and you might make it before Christmas. No.
Of what year? I have two questions. Yeah. Well, hold off or put them up.
Yeah, put them up.
And then we'll try to continue with everybody else. This is going a lot longer than I expected.
Yeah, some of them are. I mean, the rest of the Spaminator, bless him. But I think you can answer a few of them quite quickly. What are your favorite genres of music?
Most, and except hip hop and rap, because I don't really find that musical for some reason. Their early stuff the very early ones are okay, but to me it's not musical. So everything else, there's every other genre, there's stuff I like, but I suppose at the top would be, you know, a bunch would be, you know, early jazz, classical music, rock music, throughout other times of world music, African music. Like it's just really hard to pin down. It's whatever I'm in the mood. I do love music, even, you know, like folk music, everything.
The next one is, well, to be honest, probably deserves a video on its own. Shawn, I haven't read much science fiction. Let's pretend I haven't read any at all. Where should I start? I think I know you well enough to just say short stories, A Scent of Wonder, and
yeah. I think that's the best place if you have it, is get yourself a really good collection that spans time and you know, authors. And A Scent of Wonder is a perfect one, and the Hard Renaissance. You know, and it just something, or even well, you can't really see it properly here, but I've got the big book of science fiction by the Vandermeers.
I think another one you recommended was the Science Fiction Century.
Yeah, like anything like that, like any great big anthology. Those are the ones that I would say to look at, like the by David G. Hartwell, even before the Vandermeer. But if you get some big collection that spans basically the history of science fiction, with maybe, you know, 50 or 60 authors with 100 stories or something like that, you can't go wrong there, because read it through. There'll be stuff you don't like. There'll be stuff that you like. And if you get if it's a good editor, you will get stuff that's representative of the times. So that's the thing. And then move to Clifford Simak.
And the last one from the Spaminator before we get to the Omnipotent Pooba. Actually, I've still got two left on mine, but we'll jump over to the Omnipotent Pooba. But last Spaminator question, I hope, if I haven't missed any, probably was his first one, but for some reason YouTube doesn't show it in order. When did your love of reading start, and have you always loved books?
I guess it started when I was a child, but it never really kicked in, probably till sort of late teens. And I think one of the things that really did it for me was two things. As a child, I don't remember this fully, but I remember you had to do a little speech or write something and say it in front of the class on a subject. And I remember choosing Charlie Chaplin. So I would have had to have looked at some books, I'm sure, at that time. And I remember vaguely doing that. So I think that probably started me. I might have been 7, 8, 9 years old at the time. And then in school, in the library, I was looking through, and I remember distinctly finding Aldous Huxley's biography of David Livingstone. And I read that, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I wanted to read more, not just about explorers of Africa, but African history. And African history really, really is the one thing I think that really got me into reading. And that would have been sort of mid-teens. And then, I read other stuff, but I never really considered myself a reader until probably after that.
Cool. That's nice answer.
Another question from Spaminator.
There's not.
That should be about bacon.
Yeah, but it's not a question. So, Shawn, I have a bone to pick with you. Since you hail from Canada land, just where do you get off calling ham? Oh, okay. Sorry, there was no question mark. Spaminator. Where do you get off calling ham Canadian bacon? I know my cured and/or processed meats and such. That ain't bacon.
Well, I don't call it that. No, Canadians call that. It's the Americans that call whatever you're talking about Canadian bacon. So, yeah, that's my answer to that.
Like the English muffins. You know, we don't eat them in England really, unless we go to McDonald's.
And
So-
they're not called English muffins either.
well, yeah, but they're not even called muffins, are they? Because muffins are, you know. Okay, super. Right. Well, let's jump to the Omnipotent Poobah's question. What are the series of blue books directly behind you?
That there is 60-volume set of the Dictionary of National Biography, put out by the Oxford University Press. It originally was started, the original editor was Leslie Stevens, which was Virginia Woolf's daddy. And there's a neat little story that I have about this that's film related. I'm blanking on the name. Who's Ian McKellen? Ian McKellen did a sort of an aging, I can't remember the name of the film, but an aging Sherlock Holmes, where he's retired in the countryside with his bees. But he had one scene, he's in a bookstore. They filmed in a real bookstore by the looks of it. And as he's leaving, and this is again in sort of the early decade or two of the 20th century, he's walking out, and this exact set is on the shelves by the door. This is 1990s, this set. Oops.
And that is the set, though.
Well, no, that's not the.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a set. It's a 60-volume set of that set.
Who, in your humble opinion, is Canada's finest literary export?
Me.
Exactly right.
Okay, next question.
I think that says it all, though, to be honest, for your point of view.
Point of view? That's Amy.
Amy's changed her name?
No, she's got a new channel.
Why did I know about it? Hi, Amy. Oh, I'll have to check it out.
You're not up with the hip people.
No, obviously not. Nobody thought to inform me.
So, Amy, do you have a question for me that you have been burning and wanting to know, or not?
Or perhaps you could answer Omnipotent Poobah's second question for you.
Yeah, she'd be better actually to do that than me. Aren't English muffins called crumpets? Not really.
No, they're not. Crumpets are like. Well, you can tell them if you want.
No, you're better than me, I think.
Crumpets are like. What are they like? I guess they're like kind of almost pancakey, I suppose, in texture, that shape, and about that thick. And they have all these little holes in them. And you toast them and you spread butter on it, and the butter melts into the holes and everything. But it is only texture-y, like pancakes, I suppose. Eggy pancakes, maybe. I don't know, but they're delicious. But no, they're not English muffins. Sean, are you a fan of the Indiana Jones film? Seeing as it inspired you to your degree.
It didn't inspire me to do it, but I enjoyed them as a film, and they're fun. Except I haven't seen the newest one. I didn't like the one with the kid. I thought they should have strangled the kid. And no,
you could say that about the first one as well.
The kid? Was there a kid?
Short round.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. But the thing is, it's like, yeah, it's fun. But I always thought that they should make a film and a story about Sir Austin Henry Layard, who excavated in a Syria, modern day Iraq, and they wouldn't have to make anything up, and he would put Indiana Jones to shame. And then there was that other guy going around northern China doing stuff too, that actually I think Indiana Jones was partially
based on.
Yeah. But yeah, it just, and they wouldn't have to make things up. But and the thing is, like, I kind of enjoyed it because I saw all the bits and pieces that they stole from old serials from the 30s and 40s. Nothing new. It's typical of George Lucas and the other one. Help me out here. Yeah, Spielberg. To not have anything original, just to borrow it and almost verbatim from old things. Anyway,
there was a nice thing about that though, because I was reading, because the boy Short Round from Temple of Doom, he's in some, I don't know if it's a film or a series. I think it's an independent film that's come out that's really, smashed all box offices and all this stuff. And he's 51 now, and he said he gave up acting because there weren't really many parts for Asian faces, Asian actors. But it was really interesting. And of course, they were talking to him about his day, his going into acting, how he appeared in like 2 iconic films of the 80s, The Goonies and Indiana Jones Temple of Doom. And he said that to this day, Steven Spielberg still sends him a present every Christmas. I thought that's kind of cool, actually. That seems kind of nice that he still does that. So, yeah.
Amy said, she's got 2 separate channels. So everybody go to subscribe to Points of View. And she asked, do I miss the Canadian winters? Yes, I do. I never thought that I would miss snow. But I think after 5 or 6 years that I was here in the UK, I miss actual snow. I really miss it getting cold and actual snow. It never gets cold here in the UK. It gets damp and wet. And I love Amy's next thing. It says, Margaret Atwood is generally considered our greatest export, but that's detestable. Oh, what?
Debatable.
Oh. I'm putting in words. I thought she wrote detestable.
Oh dear.
Wishful thinking. Wishful
thinking. Last 2 then, I suppose, unless anyone else have any questions. I have 2.
Well, let's just catch up here just quickly. Sorry. Okay. Ms. Atwood is certainly the most prominent export. Agree that's not the same thing. Yeah, so it still comes down to me. Hi, oh, he's on his train home. Oh, come on. Come on. Next, you'll be telling me that Indian people don't eat curry.
You were going to say Indiana Jones, weren't you?
What?
You were going to say Indiana Jones doesn't eat curry.
No, but I don't know. I don't know where that comes.
Because we said Canadians don't eat Canadian bacon. It's an American thing, and English don't eat English muffins.
Yeah, no, but what you call, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's not that we don't eat it. It's just Canadians don't call it that. Lovely story about Short Round. Yeah, I never knew that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, if you didn't make videos about books, what would you be making videos about?
Louise
Brooks. So you would have a channel dedicated solely to Louise Brooks.
No, well, it would probably be silent film for the most part, and some classical film. But I'd love to be able to have the ability and the time and the patience to write up scripts and to do properly made videos with pictures and clips, and literally just throw in stuff of silent film, like obscure silent actors, actresses, films, studios that no longer exist, our early days of Hollywood, the history of film, the archaeology of or the prehistory of film, all that kind of stuff I'd love to do.
So we need to do some fundraising to fundraise you a computer monitor. Because that's all you need, isn't it? Really, you've got the time.
Well, yeah,
maybe not the energy, but you've got the time. Yeah, and you've got the computer,
camera.
The camera. What do you need the camera for? You don't need the camera if you've got the computer, because you can just cut and edit stuff on the computer.
Yeah, but how do I record it? This is not good enough. What I'm doing on my tablet here.
You need a monitor and a webcam, basically.
Yeah, and a mic, I guess, or something like that. Yeah. And the ability to edit and put stuff in and do things.
Yeah, but that honestly, the editing stuff you can learn. It's not difficult. It's really these days. It's almost foolproof. So
This is a trick question here from Scott. I know this is from Scott. It's a trick question because I know what he wants me to say. And I probably will have to say that. Faust.
So last question then. What are some of your favorite non-book related YouTube channels? Luckily, I didn't say non-YouTube websites.
Not sure. I have to look at my subscription feed. I'm blanking here for a second. Sorry, if you don't mind, let me look at my.
All right.
Oh, the Old Time Radio Researchers Group.
Good choice. Yeah.
I like the British Pathé one, but they don't put out too much stuff. Oh well, actually, there is one. He does books as well, but I did him just recently on Desert Island Books, and I'll do a shout out for Damn Fool Idealistic Crusader Spencer, who he is just boundless knowledge of technical aspect, everything too, and the contents and everything, but he's just so much knowledge about the technical aspects of filmmaking, or Blu-rays and everything, the sound, the picture, and the transfers. It's just amazing, and I love watching his stuff. Sorry, I'm still scrolling through. And there's a few sort of music people that I like. Mary Catherine Pisano. I did her on the Desert Island Books as well. Fabulous singer. She doesn't put out enough videos.
She did put out one the other day though, but I didn't listen to it yet because it's a bit too early for me. I have to wait till the 1st of December.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
You have a lovely voice. I will second that.
Yeah, I guess that's sort of about it. That's about all I like off the top of my head. Yeah, no, let's put it that, because most of these others rarely ever put out anything at all. So yeah, that's it. We'll end. I mean, and the YouTube sites.
So there we have it then. Almost an hour and a half.
Yeah, he was really good on the Desert Island Books. Any other questions, or well, I guess I don't know. We can go a little longer, or just a general chat. Anybody else wanted to know anything else, or talk about how I'm the greatest Canadian export author? I'm up for that.
Shawn's book is available from all reputable and disreputable booksellers. Dark Passages.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody else. It's sort of gone dead. There's still 14 people though watching.
It's background noise, but I think hit the 90-minute mark.
So, but I want to really thank everybody for subscribing to me and listening to my verbiage, verbal sewage, or whatever.
It's been challenging at times, but No,
but yeah, no, it's great, and the questions were great. Yeah, Alan says he's going to review this. I might want to disappear for a while from that, because I don't know. It's
what, review your book?
Yeah. So yeah. So I really want to thank everybody. It's been great. It's been fun doing stuff. Like I just sort of feel bad at times because I have all these plans, but I'm still making plans. Making plans for Sean, not Nigel, but and not too many people will catch that reference. But anyway, um, uh, things are going to happen with this long COVID. I don't know from day to day what's happening, so things get thrown out. But I try to get back on track at times, and I'm trying now. Thanks, Spectre. Yeah, well,
Get well soon, Alan. Get well soon.
Yeah, I can't compete with General Hospital. Your check's in the mail, Scott.
No, it's been fun. I've enjoyed it, and I've certainly always enjoyed watching your channel. And I've really enjoyed, the fact that being your first impromptu guest on Desert Island, this kind of brought us together over a shared love of Zulus and other things. So it's been a pleasure. I look forward to the next 1500. If we'll still be around by then, but
yeah. Well, like I said, I don't know if I said it before. I've said it to a few other people, like somewhere, and I don't know where it is now, but I stumbled on the analytics, and it says how many subscribers I've actually had, and I've had more than twice as many that have subscribed and left. So, but somehow a little over 1,500 are sticking around for some reason,
Well, I'd like to get to 1,000. I think I'm 140 something away, but I don't think I'm going to manage it before Christmas.
Thank you, Hannah.
See, it's nice because Hannah's probably been watching for a while and didn't say anything. But I like that the people sit there and it's nice.
Lurkers, they're lurkers.
Yeah, I lurk sometimes.
Yeah,
I lurk even on my own one.
You're always trying to get the numbers up, aren't you?
That's it. I've got 3 different browsers open.
Well, that reminds me of a story that I was told about somebody that was doing marketing in the early days, sort of a Twitter, and they had 10 computers going, so 10 accounts on Twitter, and yeah, they would have conversations and building up stuff. And then because there was enough of this going, other people started real people started joining in on it. And then you get into the marketing of whatever, through that. And they were saying it worked. It was hard work, but it actually worked.
Well, I was like 15 or 16 when I got my first mobile phone. So that's like 1995, 1996, which was very early, yeah. And it was a big Nokia, probably about that big. And I remember saying to my dad, why does the keypad have the letters on it? And he says, well, because you can send people, messages, text messages. And I said, oh, that's great. And then, of course, I realized I was the only person I knew who had a mobile phone at that age. So I didn't have anyone to message anyway. So
that's not the reason for the numbers.
The reason for the letters.
Yeah, the letters. That's not the reason for the letters. They're on old phones. They were on phones.
Yeah, of course. But we had them obviously on the old phones, yeah, because they used to do the whole 800s, love or whatever. Yeah. But obviously that's part of the reason, because you need the keypad on there to do it. So it was just funny to think that I didn't have anybody to send a message to.
Well, I remember doing the salvage archaeology in Canada in the early 90s, 1990. And our boss got a mobile phone. And if anybody knows the size and shape of a cinder block, but no, it was like with the battery. It was.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he'd hang it over, and it was like the bloody thing was heavy, and it was like it was horrible when there was only a couple of us that were out doing field walking or something like that because we weren't able to switch it off enough. I mean, switch it around to other people to carry. Thanks, Gareth, for stopping by. I'm with you there, just like one for the road. Okay. I've dabbled in reading some extreme horror fiction lately. I don't get it.
No, Spaminator, that could keep us here for another 90 minutes.
Read anything. The subject. Sorry, you asking me about horror recommendations, or? Sorry, I have to read that again.
One for the road. I've dabbled in reading some extreme horror fiction lately. I don't get it or the appeal. A lot of it seems written purely for shock value. Read anything in this subgenre, probably is what he wants to say. And what are your thoughts? Have you read any extreme horror, Sean? And what are your thoughts about it?
Pretty well, exactly the same as yours, Spaminator. I don't really find. Well, I understand the appeal because people like to sort of look and and that kind of thing, but it doesn't give me that kind of thrill, and I just see it as sensationalistic, and that's all it's done for. At least the stuff that I read. I'm sure there's some that might have a little more depth to it, but then if it's got more depth, then you don't need the sensationalist stuff, I would have thought. Sure. But again, I'm not. I don't read horror a lot, to be honest. I read more horror than I do fantasy, or I have ever read fantasy, but not that much.
Okay, all right.
So I guess well, we lost 4 there, so people are dwindling away. So we'll see you next time. Definitely, I guess next week. I don't know if we're maybe this weekend, maybe sooner, maybe later, maybe.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.